Switch in the building.
Peace, y'all. It's me, Tanila. Y'all know I ain't. I'm not really a guest, but we do have a special guest beside myself. We have Erica Odom in the building. Now, Erica, can you please explain to the people who you are, what you do? Wait, I'm gonna just give them the backstory. So I met Erica at the gathering. Was it Jammin' 98.3? It was theirs. So it was a recent gathering, y'all, that Jammin' 98.3 did. A lot of people from the city came out. There were a ton of vendors there, and Erica happened to be one. And when I heard about the amazing things that she was doing within the community in the city, I thought that it was just best that she come up on the platform and share with y'all, what it is that she's doing, because a lot of you may be able to benefit from what she's doing. Can you please tell the people who you are, your experience, and what led up to your journey to create the programs that you did?
Yes, so good morning. As mentioned, I'm Erica Odom, owner of Odom Investments and Property Management, but I go by Coach Erica. I am, in short, I'm a real estate investor. So I am kind of like your HGTV person. I buy houses, I do fix and flips.
Hold on one second. That's your bracelet I'm hearing, ain't it? Or is that the cup? Yeah, we're going to have to get rid of that.
My bracelet?
Both them noises I could hear real good. So it's like interrupting the broadcast. Your bracelet hitting the table.
It was the bracelet? Was it the bracelet?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't hear no more.
Okay. Go ahead.
You want me to start over?
Yeah, can you please? Because it was just, you could hear it.
Okay, I'm going to just set that. What about now?
Yeah.
Is that good now?
Yeah.
Okay. So as mentioned, good morning. I'm Erica Odom, owner of Odom Investments and Property Management, also known as Coach Erica. I am, just to give you a little background about me, I am a real estate investor. So I'm kind of like your HGTV person. I buy homes and I do fix and flips, and I also do what we call buy and holds, which is where you purchase a home, you fix it up like you would for a fix and flip, but you just collect the cash flow for a little bit until it's a good point to sell the home and then collect the rest of the profit. I also am an author. I just published my book, Journey to Success, in October of last year. Journey to Success it's out. It can be purchased on Barnes and Nobles as well as Amazon online. Journey to Success is all about my journey. It's like the insight to my business, to everything that I do. So when I created my programs, I don't know if you want me to go into the programs right away.
Yes, could you?
But prior to COVID, I used to do home buying workshops down at the public library. And then COVID happened, and then I kind of started revamping and looking at how I wanted to proceed with everything. So that is how Journey to Success came about, which is a lot of different things that we cover. So the Journey to Success book that I just mentioned that I published is a book that teaches individuals the steps in a very simple format, how to go about getting a hold of your finances, so financial literacy, as well as the home buying process from start to finish. We have a couple of different things that I offer in my business besides what I do as a day-to-day real estate investor. We have first our every first Saturday of the month, we do something called Coffee and Convo. So Coffee and Convo is a free workshop that I offer at the office where individuals can come and get insight onto what is life insurance and also about investments. And the reason why I started that segment of it is because a lot of people, when they think about finances, they just think, oh, I got to have money in the bank and I can't have debt. But when we talk about your financial wellness or your financial house, it's actually more than just having money in the bank and not having debt. There's a lot of different layers that goes with finances. So the reason why we teach about learning what life insurance actually is, what does it mean, why you need to have it, and why we talk about investments is because those are two segments that when we talk about financial literacy that you need to have in place amongst many other things. So that's the first thing we do is coffee and convo every first Saturday of the month at the office. The second thing that we offer is called Journey to Home Ownership. And Journey to Home Ownership is a workshop that's offered every third Saturday of the month at the office. And that is about teaching individuals basically the home buying process. And this is also another free workshop. So you can come to the workshop and learn about everything from what does it take to find the right realtor, home inspector, how to go about choosing a lender, all the way down to the pre-approval process, what you actually need to get pre-approved, what that process actually means. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'm pre-approved, that means I got the house, and that really doesn't mean that. So we really break down what that actually means and what that process looks like. We also talk about the mortgage loan application process from start to finish, from the moment you get an accepted offer to purchase on a home all the way down to when you are actually signing paperwork or signing what we call the final closing disclosure documents. So that is Journey to Home Ownership every third Saturday of the month, and that's also free.
So hold on before you move on. So what I'm hearing with the home journey, so it's almost like you've created a funnel pretty much, and you are step by step walking the people through the entire process of home ownership.
Correct. And the reason why I do that, just to kind of give, I'm like an open book, but just to give some more insight about me. I always tell people, like, you know, I'm a real person. I don't just pick stuff from the book and try to sell you information out of the book. Obviously, I have to do my research to stay current with the changes that's happening in the world that I'm in, but I also bring a lot of my own personal experience to the table, just because I always tell people, like, I can definitely relate on a lot of different levels, even though a person may look at my life now and say, no, she don't understand, but I actually do understand, and I wasn't always in the position I'm in now. So everything, my journey to success or your journey to success, is all about my journey. My real estate journey actually started when I was 19 years old. I bought my first home ever, a duplex right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 37th and Roar. And to make a long story short, I mean, I got beat pretty bad. And I was also a part of the housing market crash of 2008. So I took a hard hit, not only financially, but I also took a hard hit on my credit. My credit was pretty much ruined. I pretty much went broke, had nothing, and pretty much had to rebuild myself. And that is how we got to this point. So my motivation and my why for writing Journey to Success books, starting these programs, doing workshops, is because the one thing that I told myself is that when I bounced back, because I knew I was going to bounce back, I told everybody, I said, I'm going to bounce back. I'm never looking back. I'm going to be unstoppable. And once I start, I'm not going to be able to be touched. And I said, the one thing that I wanted to do was through this, show my testimony that you can fail and you can bounce back. You can fail and you can gain more than you had before you started. Also, just encouraging people to be confident. I feel like a lot of people, you know, they purchase homes or they go through the process, but they are like entrusting the professional, right? Which they should, to do what they're supposed to do. But what I coach and what I teach people is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to say, that doesn't make sense to me. Can you stop and re-explain that? So a lot of how I structured the workshops in my program and the book is very simple terms to get people to understand. Like here, for example, here are some questions that you should be asking a lender before you decide to choose a mortgage loan lender. Or here are some questions you should be considering when you're trying to pick out a realtor or a home inspector, and really just going through the process of what everything means. Because anybody who's purchased a home before know, once the process gets started, it goes really fast. It's very intense. It's very stressful. It's a lot that you're going through that process. So Journey to Success is all about empowering people and giving them the tools and resources and confidence needed to be able to go through the process not only confidently but successfully, and to feel like, you know, they have control over the situation instead of just going with what everybody else says is best for them.
Like you got somebody tuned in that done worked with you. She said you Say she taught me too.
Period. I love it. This is
LaShonda. Hey, Shonda.
That's what's up. So for the people tuning in, Erica's main website is odomhomes.com. That is spelled ODOMHOMES.com. And on the website, you will be able to see all the programs that she has created. Her book is here, but also something that sticks out to me is the testimonies and the evidence of actually completing projects and things. I'm looking at your latest project.
Yeah.
She was able to sell a house on 41st Street.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fully renovated single family. House looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
That's what we do. Bringing homes back to life.
And the book correlates to that process.
Correct. So the book, module 1 is all about financial literacy. Because, I mean, rightfully so, your finances got to be right before we can even cross the bridge of thinking about home ownership. So that is like the very first core. You're going to hear me talk about the financial house a lot, again, because that financial house includes a lot of different things, but everything starts there. Once we have a control on that and we have that going well, then we can move on to that home ownership process, which is what modules 2 and 3 in the book cover.
Okay. Now, for one more time, can you repeat the time frames of when you do these 2 programs of the month?
Yep. So Coffee and Convo is every first Saturday of the month. You can actually go directly to my website, odomhomes.com. If you click on the Journey to Success tab, you can actually register for Coffee and Convo. If you want to do Journey to Home Ownership, which is more exclusively related to the home buying process, and that's every third Saturday of the month, you can also go to the website and register for the workshop right from the website. The other program that I didn't mention is the coaching piece.
I was so finna ask that next. I was like, 'cause I'm right here. I'm
So
about the mentorship.
The coaching piece is actually not free. That is where you sit down with me in the office. We pretty much work on a weekly basis for about 8 to 12 sessions. And through those sessions, there's a lot of things we're covering. First thing, I'm really big on what's your why, what's your goals, what's your vision. We dive deep into all of that before we even start talking about finances. And then from there, we cover everything from budgeting, savings, uses of cash. We do credit. So I always like to put this disclosure. We are not a credit repair company. What we do, however, because I'm really big, like I said, on empowering the people that I come across. So what we do is actually teach you how to go through your annual free credit report. So if you're not aware, everybody's entitled to get a copy of all 3 of their credit reports every year for free. You don't get the score, but it's important to know if your report has inaccurate information on it. So what we do is go through that process and pull the reports with our clients. We teach them how to read the reports, how to understand them, how to file their own disputes for themselves, and we walk them through the process because the goal is, even when they're done working with us, we don't want them to stop the process. So that's why we like to show them and teach them how to go through that so they can keep that going even beyond us. So credit review counseling. We also talk about planning for retirement. We talk about debt elimination and debt management. So for any of our clients that do come with any debt, we could put them on a debt elimination plan to help them clear up their debt. We do something called a financial needs analysis, and that is where myself and my financial advisor on my team, we pretty much go through everything. So we look at all of your finances, any debts you have, your current income you have. If you have any investment accounts, we review those. If you have any life insurance policies, we review those. We look at your entire financial snapshot to see where you are and what we can do to put you in an even better position if you're already on a good good pace, or what we can do to get you on track if you're not maybe where you need to be. And with that financial needs analysis, we also create a financial plan for you. So a full financial plan. My financial advisor on the team, I mean, we have our license. We're licensed to do business here in the state of Wisconsin, also the state of Arizona. So even people in Arizona, they can reach out and be able to get services from us. So through that, we are also, when we look at investments, when I say investments, I'm referring to things like your Roth IRA account. So if you don't have one, or maybe you're not properly investing in your shares like you need to, we assess that and get that on board for you. And we also are licensed to be able to do life insurance as well. So if you don't have a policy, or maybe you have a policy and through the review, maybe you don't have the best policy, because those things really happen when people don't know, again, the knowledge to know what to look for. We can
All
get
right,
you.
hold on. I got to stop you
Okay.
right there, because you caught my attention with life insurance policies. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
I need to know what things would void a policy. Meaning, if I was killed in an act that they considered to be a crime, would that void the policy?
If you got murdered,
Yeah.
no, your policy should still be in effect.
But I said in an act that they consider to be a crime. Like, people could be in car accidents where it become a vehicular manslaughter or whatever, something like that. Like, what I need to know what things void a
So
policy.
every insurance company is a little bit different. So I can't give like a black and white answer to that, because you got to read those fine prints in the policy. So everybody's a little bit different, but typically if you were in a situation where you were killed in an act of crime, it should be able to cover what you have in your plan. But again, it just depends on who you're with, what kind of policy you have, and all of those underlying things. So it would be a lot of factors to that.
Now, for a family not in tune with insurance, like we've all heard, the terms over the years of how things was played back in the day in our community for insurance, be it the redlining with houses, life insurance, all that. We always got the nothing for the most, right? What are the things you would recommend people do when shopping for insurance to make sure that they are getting the right policies and, you know what I mean, and full benefits of what insurance can be for them? Because, you got some families, man, hey, somebody died that had insurance and it just changed the course of their generation. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? But then you got black folks die and they got insurance and ain't nobody got to worry about the funeral.
Right. So, number one, always ask a lot of questions, and whatever agent you're working with, to really break down the policy. What does it mean? Like all the questions you're asking, like, well, what if this happened? What's happened? So you should really, I always tell people, any situation, come prepared with questions. Make your list of questions so you can make sure that you're walking away confidently, getting everything answered to the extent that you understand it. So that would be my first step to anybody. Secondly, this is just my take, but it doesn't mean that it's the right or wrong way. So let me just say this. One of my things that you'll always hear me say is everything doesn't make sense for everyone. So I give a lot of suggestions. I don't tell people what to do, but I can give you a suggestion if I have an understanding of your situation. But to go back to what we teach in my program, I teach all of my clients to be what we call self-insured. How do you become self-insured? So on one end of, I'm going to say, the spectrum, you have your life insurance. I typically recommend term life insurance policies.
Now tell us
What is term?
what is term.
So a term policy is basically, in short and simple terms, that is where, let's say you have a policy for $100,000 and it is termed at 30 years. So basically, if a person was 30 years old and they had a 30-year term policy, their policy would expire when they turn 60 because it's 30 years from the date they opened the policy. So that's the piece of the term.
Now, what does it mean when you say expired? I mean, they finna give me a check?
Nope.
Or that mean I lost all that money I put in there?
But see, right there, wait. I got to challenge you on that because you said that mean you lost all the money that you put in.
Yeah, I'm asking these questions.
But number one, you got to change the mindset. You have to look at life insurance. I always tell people, look at life insurance as like when you have your insurance for your vehicle. You get your car insurance in the event of that somebody runs into your car is going to get paid. In the event of you hit somebody else's car, you're not getting sued and your insurance is going to kick in. Well, life insurance is the same thing. In the event of, because we're all going to go, we all got that in common. We just don't know our own expiration date. So in the event of, if I were to walk out and get in this accident and die, my family has something to fall back on to, number one, bury me. Number two, life insurance is the quickest way and the easiest way to pass what we call generational wealth versus passing along nothing in debt. That sounds bad, but that's the reality of it. And also just that sense of comfort. I mean, no shade to anybody, but every time you go on social media, the first thing you see is a GoFundMe because somebody passed away and people are not prepared. So life insurance is important to have so you can be prepared. That's why it's a part of your financial house. And just other things, just to point out with that is, a lot of people think that, oh, I'm dead and gone. Oh, well, it doesn't work that way. Any debts that you have when you're dead and gone, guess what? They're still here, and somebody here has to deal with those things. So would you rather pass debt on to your family in the event they're already stressed because they're having to grieve your death? That's a whole process by itself. Or would you rather say, okay, if I pass, I know my debts are good. I know I'm passing along wealth. Now my family can properly grieve. Because, let's get real. If your significant other or your kid were to pass away, what is it? You probably get 3 days at work for grieving. They expect you to bounce back, come back, and get right with the program and leave everything at the door. And that's not reality. Whereas if you change your viewpoint, let's say in the event of your person had life insurance and now you're able to pass along this wealth, maybe they could take a leave because they can afford to do that and they could properly get themselves together and work on them versus the stress of, I got to figure out how to pay for this. I got to figure out how to bury this person. Now I got to get back to work because if I don't go back to work, I have to pay these bills. So I always tell people, because you got to change your mindset on that. It's in the event of, so you can't look at it as, oh, I paid all this money into life insurance and now it terms out. But going back to my original point about becoming self-insured, how you become self-insured is at one end of the spectrum, again, is where you have your life insurance, right? In the event of something happens to you. But your other end of the spectrum, that's where your investments need to kick in. So I'm really big on invest. Your money should always be making money for you. I don't care how much money you got in the bank. If it's just sitting there stagnant, you're not doing anything. Because all your money sitting in the bank is only making 0.01% interest on that money. And what is the bank doing with your money? They're taking your money and investing it into real estate, stocks, bonds, and lands. So the bank is coming up off your money and your money is stagnant. So that's saying make it make sense. Make it make sense, because that don't make sense. So I always teach, let's get your life insurance in the event of, and over here on this side of the spectrum, let's get them investments. Let's get your money getting a return on interest, anywhere from 10 to 12% return on interest. And I always push the young people, because I'm 36 now. So, I didn't get the chance to start as early as I would have liked to because I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have anybody teaching me. But every young person I come across, my nephew, he's 17-year-old. He already has a Roth IRA. He already has his insurance set up. He has those things. And I'm not saying that to boast or brag, but I'm just making a point. You have to invest early. You have to start early to gain what we talk about, that wealth, actually building wealth that's actually going to make a difference. Wealth that when somebody does pass, is that wealth is going to keep rolling, because wealth is one piece, but the education is another piece. And that's another thing we have to start educating. We have to educate early, because if we educate early, we can break those generational cycles and curses. The rich people are not smarter or better than us. They just learn the game, learn how to manipulate and make it work for them, and they keep it going because they share we don't share enough within our community. We get a little bit and we hold on to it. I know people gonna get me, but I'm speaking the truth today. We hold on to it. And anybody who's come across my path, I'm an open book. I am not going to be the person that's sitting next to you and I know how to help you and I'm going to just sit here and look at you. No, I'm going to tell you, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to talk to. Did you try this? Because we need to spread the wealth. You can spread the wealth not necessarily by always giving people money, but just information, just somebody who they could talk to. And if we did more of that, we will be stronger and we'll be better and more successful as a whole instead of just this person, that person, and this person.
All right. Now back to that term life insurance. Can that be like before the term expires? Can that be renewed, or is whatever it may be called?
So basically, it depends on what kind of, see, a lot of the questions you come in with, it just really depends on how your policy is structured. So, for example, if it terms out, depending on the type of policy you have, you may be able to renew it. It just depends on a lot of different factors and what kind of policy you initially got into. Other things, let me give another example. So let's say if you have a policy and you have your kid on your policy, for example, depending on how you have it structured, when you talk about like that renew piece, because I always say think future. You never know like what the future is going to hold, if somebody's going to have health issues or anything like that. So for example, if you had your kid on that policy, then when they could be on that policy to age 25. So now at age 25, they can then be able to apply and get their own policy, if that makes sense what I'm saying, without having to go through getting a medical exam and this and that. So it's just different things depending, again, on the structure of your policy.
Now you brought up medical exams. I see a lot of insurance getting advertised as no exam required. Is that a scam?
That's a good question.
It just depends.
Depends
We have to, with the insurance that I do, you have to get a policy because it's a term policy. Now, sometimes, do you have to get a test done? The answer to that would be no. So do people come across me and I say, do you want, so this is your premium rate if you get a test. This is your premium rate if you don't get a test. So I guess the biggest thing to say is likely if you don't get a test, your premium is probably going to be higher versus if you get the test, and depending on, you know, what class you fall in, your insurance is probably going to be cheaper, if that makes sense, because they actually can know what your health is like.
Your health.
Versus if I don't know,
You can be lying.
more at risk. So,
Because you see it now, like a lot of the insurance paraphernalia you get in the mail, this company in I don't fuck Egypt somewhere, like, nah, you know, they in California, or Boston, or, you know what I mean? Like, they ain't here, so it'd be like,
well, you know, Coach Erica now.
yeah.
I'm licensed. I'm licensed. I mean, you can find me. I'm right here local. Right. Our office is, if you're familiar with Cops Frozen Custard in the Bayshore area, our office is right back past there. So we can't hide. We're here right local. So you can always find us.
Now, what's the other insurance? That was, we just spoke about term. What's the other one?
So there's several. There's whole life. So whole life, I am not really a fan of it. I mean, just again, to kind of keep it short and simple. Whole life is basically to compare it to term, whole life, it lasts until age 100. So term, it terms out depending on the term that you have. Whole life expires when you're 100 years old. But a lot of people like whole life because they get sold on it's a savings account and you can borrow from your money. That's the big thing I feel like people get sold on, because honestly, when I started out, I had whole life until I learned what it was and learned the details. And then I was like, nope, not doing this. So again, speaking from experience, whole life, like for me, they sold it on, oh, you're a real estate investor. You can borrow money from your insurance. You can do this, do that, whatever. Well, the thing is with whole life, number one, if you thought about if it was a box right here, and every year I'm putting money into this box, right? Think of that. my savings account is growing. Well, that's not necessarily true, because with whole life, you don't even actually start to see growth until the third or fourth year. So this is like 3 to 4 years you've been putting money into this box and you actually have nothing there, no savings there, as they say. When that third to fourth year come, that's when you actually start seeing some savings. But again, it takes time for that to grow. So the other thing I feel like people get misconstrued on. So if your death benefit, meaning this is what your family would get in the event you die. Let's say your death benefit was $100,000 and your savings component grew to $100,000, right? You don't walk away with $200,000. I think a lot of people think that, oh, my family gets my death benefit and the money in savings. That's not how that works. The money in savings, so when you talk about just putting money there, the money in savings, it's basically only good to use while you're here. And then if you basically borrow against the money, you have to pay the money back. So it's not in a sense where you're pulling from your savings and you don't have to pay it back. You do have to pay it back.
Okay. Now, can you hold multiple
Policies?
policies?
Yes, you can.
And with multiple beneficiaries?
Yes, you can.
That's good to know. I always wondered that, like, just get a different policy for each person.
I mean, in short, like I said, going back to what I originally said, I know it's a lot of people that be like, oh, well, I don't need insurance. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. We all do. Because, again, you got to change your mindset. In the event of this were to happen, you are covered. And, again, like I said before, this is one of the fastest way to pass along wealth is through your life insurance policy.
All right. So what's the typical thing folks come for you with questions about with dealing with getting life insurance? Like I say, my experience is, from what I see, the people who got in life insurance, they just got like, what's that, the burial or whatever to cover their funeral?
Nope. I don't know what kind of policy they got, but my people that come to me and that have life insurance, or they don't have life insurance, I look at the whole snapshot. So with that, we're looking at like how many debts and things that they have out there, because we want to make sure that if something happens to them, they have a big enough policy where their debts are going to be covered. Because remember, we don't want to pass debt on along to our family. We want to make sure debts are going to be covered. We want to make sure that they're going to be able to have a proper burial the way they would like to have that. And also the goal is, again, to be able to pass along some wealth. So that's going to look different person to person, depending on your situation, your age, if you have children. Because if you have children, that's another factor we want to look at. If you were to pass away, we want to make sure that, whoever's going to be caring for your kid or kids will have enough money to be able to take care of them. So there's a lot of different things that we look at. So it's not like a set stone number, situation based.
Right, okay.
But you need it. You do.
Definitely.
We all
I
need
agree.
it.
I agree. Like, I used to like to get, at one point I had a policy that was like, I attached it to my account so I wouldn't forget to pay it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But then something happened with that account, so I had to go do something else.
No, you gotta pay.
No, I was paying, but like the account got compromised or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And through all the riffraff, I don't got time to be playing with these folks and my money. I just the hell with this account. Give me they fixed it, give me my money, and I ain't dealing with y'all no more. Because at this point, this account done got hit so many times, I think one of y'all in here doing it.
Oh.
So yeah, I had to move away from that bank, and I ain't had that problem since. But speaking of banks, you also a little while back you talked about the financial literacy. At what age do you start teaching financial literacy?
Like me personally, or
Yes.
what do I recommend people start teaching?
You personally, what age you start?
So I'm actually working on my next book right now, which is going to be called Journey to Success for Teens. So in my opinion, I think people should start as early as they think their kids can start to grasp the information. That's just my opinion. And that could just be simple things like teaching them how to be responsible with money, or maybe teaching them simple skills that, you know, if you get money for your birthday or money for Christmas, you don't just spend all your money. Teaching them the skills early on how to save and why it's important to save. Something as simple as that. But the journey to success for teens is going to be more so geared towards teenagers. So as I would say, as young as 14, high school age. And so I'm working on that now currently, because my vision is, I mean, like I said before, we got to start early. The best and the best way to handle wealth and building wealth is not when we're in our 30s and 40s and 50s. And it's not to say that when you're in those age categories that you can't be successful or you can't build wealth. That's not what I'm saying. But it's best that we start early, as early as possible, giving our kids those fundamental basics. Like I said, just basic things: how to properly save, how to properly budget money, how to actually understand how money is used. I mean, I know that sounds strange. Like, what do you mean how money is used? Because there's actually certain ways in which we use money. So number one, understanding that money is a tool and actually know how to use the tool to make it work for you. So just teaching things like that, and also teaching our kids about credit. You know, I'm gonna throw like a credit piece out here really quick, but you know, something as simple as like, you know, knowing that you can start benefiting your kids early on with helping them build credit by adding them to your account as an authorized user. Now, of course, you need to be solid on your credit and have responsible habits. I
always tell folks, because I know about that, right? And when I tell my partners about it, or I tell people, I'll be like, look, just don't tell the kid they own it, right? And don't let them touch the card.
I mean, they can't. I mean, as an authorized user, you have no control over the account, per se. Right. The biggest thing is you get the benefits of that person's credit. So that's why I say, like, if you're going to add your kid, make sure, number one, that you are solid on credit and you're practicing responsible credit habits, because whatever you do impacts them, because now this is on their credit report. But just even something like that, giving them a jump start to credit, giving them, you know, just that head start versus like starting out and having to build from scratch. That's huge. Going back to my nephew again. My nephew is on some of my cards. He's 17. He's already getting the benefits of my credit. He's already building his credit profile. And it depends on the card, but I just know Discover. But for example, Discover card. If you have a Discover card, you can add your kid on as an authorized user at age 15. At 15, while they're already in high school, they're already getting the benefits of that credit profile and, you know, getting those things versus when you're first 18 and you start now, you don't have any credit. It's a little harder. You have no profile. So just things like that. It's best to start as early as you can with kids, because they are the future. They're going to be the ones over us eventually, taking care of us. So we want to make sure that they have the knowledge that they need to build wealth for them and to continue that cycle.
Right. Now, leave us with some budget tips. Like, okay, rent is going up, rent high, everything high. You know what I mean? But employers ain't necessarily giving wages. So people working with the same little bit of money, having to do a whole lot more.
That's true. Well, there's a lot of different factors to that. One of the things that you heard me mention a little while ago, the first thing that I always teach when it comes to budgeting and savings, you got to understand how money works. Like, you have to, in order to, the number one thing, you have to have control over your finances. And just to keep it short and simple, how do you have control over your finances? You have to know what is coming in, meaning what income you have coming in, what is going out. And how do you do that? You have to keep track of what you're spending. So one of my tools that I use in the program, and I've actually done it myself, because everything I teach I've personally done, basically it's called budget envelopes. something as simple as a budget envelope. And I'm not even saying you got to go purchase. You can just get some envelopes, whatever works for you, however you want to use it to categorize it. But basically what you're going to do is, for example, you have to write out your expenses. What do you have every single month that you're paying out? You need to be aware of that. What do you have coming in as a total each month, so you can know how to properly position your budget based on your income and how you're paid every month. And how the budget envelopes come into play is, for example, a lot of people know what their bills are, what they're spending, but they forget the budget, the other stuff. So what are you budgeting for household? What's household? You got to have toilet paper. You got to have hygiene. You got to have things for household. What are you budgeting for food? And I always tell people for food, because I get it. Everybody's lifestyle is a little bit different. Maybe you don't have the kind of lifestyle you can cook dinner every month. Maybe you do fast food 3 times a week, I'm not sure, and maybe you cook the other days of the week. So even when I say food, you need to be budgeting in groceries. If you're going to be grabbing fast food, you need to be budgeting that into your grocery fund. Other things, gas, or if you don't have a vehicle, whatever that looks like for you, you need to be budgeting whatever it takes for you to get around for transportation. And I always teach you also need to have what I call your entertainment or your me fund, because we all work hard. And the number one thing I always teach people, even when you think you can't, you have to pay yourself first. Whatever that number looks like, you have to pay yourself first. So that me fund, even budgeting, maybe this week for my budget, maybe my me fund is $100. I'm not sure. So that $100 is for you to do what you want to do. If you want to, get your nails done, if you want a t-shirt, if you want to go out somewhere, whatever, that is your me fund. But here's the key. With those envelopes, I always tell people, take out cash. When you figure out the budget, put the actual amount into each of those envelopes. Now, I'm not saying you have to walk around with cash and you have to walk around with envelopes. Bring the envelopes out when you need them. So if you know that you're going to go get gas for the week, take your budget, your transportation fund or your gas fund to be able to get your car fixed, whatever you need to do. But how does those envelopes help you? Because now you're putting all of your things into category. So what's happening? You are fully aware of what you have coming in and what you have going out. If you're in control of what you have coming in and what you have going out, you're more in tune with your financial world. Versus if you don't budget for those separate categories that I mentioned outside of your bills, the weekend has come. Now, let's say maybe you went out, you're swiping your card here, went to this store, swiping your card here. Now Sunday or Monday morning come, you like, dang, how did I spend all this money? Where did this money go? But if you properly plan for those things, you're more in control because you know what you're actually spending. And to go to your other point, sometimes we got to sacrifice. And I always tell people, with building wealth, with change for yourself, you have to be willing to be flexible and sacrifice. So it may not always be, let's say,
you can't go out to the club every week.
Yeah, you may have to cut back on
Gotta
some
skip a
things.
couple of them 3 5s, y'all.
You may have to pick up extra income. I always tell people in the world who are in a good financial space, if you were to ask every single person, they don't have one source of income. They have multiple sources of income. You have to create multiple sources of income for yourself. You have to. You can't rely on one source of income. We all need to have multiple sources of income. And the key is we want to position ourselves to have passive income. Why passive income? Because you want to be making money regardless of where you are in the world or what you're doing in this current money. We always, going back to my point, your money has to be making money for you. Your money shouldn't just, if it's not making money for you, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Now let the people know how to register for these classes.
So you can go to odomhomes.com. Right from our website, you could pretty much do everything. If you go onto odomhomes.com, you could purchase the book. If you want to just purchase the book, you can register for the coffee and combo. You can register for Journey to Home Ownership. And you also can schedule a free consultation to meet with me if you're interested in actually joining the coaching program. Because as I mentioned earlier, the coaching program is not a free program.
Can you let the people know how much that costs?
Absolutely. So for our individual coaching, which is preparing for the journey, it is $295. But we're flexible. So when I say flexible, you pay basically half at the start of your course, and the system will automatically build the other half a month later. I get actually a lot of couples that come through the program. So we also have a couple portion. So if you come through as a couple, a married couple, whatever that looks like, couples, the session is $395 for both of you. And so that includes everything that I talked about earlier, the plans, everything. And one of the things that we were looking to start it in April, but we didn't get a big enough response that we're hoping to start soon. It's going to be Financial Boot Camp with Coach Erica. And so Financial Boot Camp with Coach Erica is going to be a 6-week classroom course in our office, where basically you come into the office for 6 weeks for probably about an hour and a half a night. And we will basically cover everything that I mentioned when it comes to financial literacy. When we do the boot camp will be a flat rate of $150. But the difference between the individual coaching and the boot camp, you don't get all the plans. When you sit down and coach with me individually, we exclusively look at your situation, and we're creating plans exclusively for you. The boot camp is still good. You just don't get exclusive plans, but you're getting all of the same information. So I think it just depends on what it is that you need as an individual and what you're actually looking for to know what kind of make more sense for you.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming up and clocking in with us on the morning shift, no doubt. And we're going to have you again. We're going to definitely have you up here talking some more financial literacy.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
We facilitate some youth programs up here as well. Actually, next week we start our audio and DJing classes for the youth. So we definitely going to want to talk later about how we can get you over here to talk financial literacy with those youth as well.
Sounds like a plan.
Now, one more time, give the people your contacts.
So thanks for tuning in. I'm Erica Odom, Coach Erica with Odom Investments and Property Management. You can go directly to our website to reach me or find any information about the program or purchase our Journey to Success book at odomhomes.com. If you're on social media platforms, you can follow us on Facebook at Odom Investments, on Twitter at Odom Homes, and on Instagram at Odom Investments _prop management. So reach out. We're here.
And there you have it. Y'all keep it locked. I'm going to get you to the music. We got the Munchie Mixes up at the top of the hour. Hey, we're going to check back in with Mike Skrill later on, too. Y'all keep it locked. HittingHardRadio.com, the morning shift, MKE.
This is HittingHardRadio.com.
HittingHardRadio.com.